Hello, sixth graders. It's me, Mrs. James, here to read another chapter to you of Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. We are going to read chapter 6 today, and chapter 6 is called The Journey from Platform 9 3/4. So, if you've never been on a train, many of you haven't been to London. I've only been one time. The way to get everywhere is by the train, and each part where you get on the train has a platform. So you might go to the train and you would be on platform 1, and then your train comes and you get on the train, or you might be on platform 8, and then here you come and you get on the train. But there's no such thing as a platform like 4.5, 4.5. There's no platform called like 4.6. It's just either 4 or 5. But this says platform 9 3/4, which is like 9.75. So I'm curious to find out what that could be. Maybe I'm misunderstanding it. This too is a long chapter. It's 88 from page 88 to page 112. So we've got, a lot of pages here. Let's see, what is that? Oh, I'm not very good at adding up. See if you can get it before I can. Okay. 2, 10, 24 pages. Yeah, so we're going to try to break this up. I think 12 pages is probably too long, so we'll just see where we stop. We might break it up into thirds. All right, if you could please turn to page 88, we are going to get started. Now, I am going to warn you, I'm waiting on a very important phone call, so I might have to stop and start back up. But either way, we'll do it. So here we go. Chapter 6. Okay, sorry, I had to check and make sure this was recording. If it wasn't, that was about to be a disaster. The Journey from Platform 9 3/4. Page 88. Harry's last month with the Dursleys wasn't fun. True, Dudley was now so scared of Harry he wouldn't stay in the same room, while Aunt Petunia and Uncle Vernon didn't shut Harry in his cupboard, force him to do anything, or shout at him. In fact, they didn't speak to him at all. Half terrified, half furious, they acted as though any chair with Harry in it were empty. Although this was an improvement in many ways, it did become a bit depressing after a while. Harry kept to his room with his new owl for company. Who bought him this owl? Do you guys remember? Hagrid, remember? All right. He decided to call her Hedwig, a name he found in a history of magic. His school books were very interesting. He lay on his bed reading late into the night, Hedwig swooping in and out of the open window as she pleased. It was lucky that Aunt Petunia didn't come in to vacuum anymore, because Hedwig kept bringing back dead mice. Yuck. Every night before he went to sleep, Harry ticked off another day on the piece of paper he had pinned to the wall, counting down to September the 1st. On the last day of August, he thought he'd better speak to his aunt and uncle about getting to King's Cross Station the next day. King's Cross is the train station. So he went down to the living room where they were watching a quiz show on television. He cleared his throat to let them know he was there. And Dudley screamed and ran from the room. Uncle Vernon. Uncle Vernon grunted to show he was listening. I need to be at King's Cross tomorrow to go to Hogwarts. Uncle Vernon grunted again. Would it be all right if you gave me a lift? Harry supposed that meant yes. Thank you. He was about to go back upstairs when Uncle Vernon actually spoke. Funny way to get to a wizard's school. The train. Magic carpets all got punctures, have they? Harry didn't say anything. Where is this school, anyway? I don't know, said Harry, realizing this for the first time. He pulled the ticket Hagrid had given him out of his pocket. I'll just take the train from platform 9 3/4 at 11 o'clock, he read. His aunt and uncle stared. Platform what? 9 3/4. Don't talk rubbish, said Uncle Vernon. There is no platform 9 3/4. It's on my ticket. Barking, said Uncle Vernon. Howling mad, the lot of them. You'll see. You just wait. All right, we'll take you to King's Cross. We're going up to London tomorrow anyway, or I wouldn't bother. Why are you going to London? Harry asked, trying to keep things friendly. Taking Dudley to the hospital, growled Uncle Vernon. Got to have that ruddy tail removed before he goes to Smeltings. Harry woke at 5 o'clock the next morning and was too excited and nervous to go back to sleep. He got up and pulled on his jeans because he didn't want to walk into the station in his wizard's robes. He'd change on the train. He checked his Hogwarts list yet again to make sure he had everything he needed, saw that Hedwig was shut safely in her cage, and then paced the room waiting for the Dursleys to get up. 2 hours later, Harry's huge, heavy trunk had been loaded into the Dursleys' car. Aunt Petunia had talked Dudley into sitting next to Harry, and they had set off. They reached King's Cross at 10:30. Uncle Vernon dumped Harry's trunk onto a cart and wheeled it into the station for him. Harry thought this was strangely kind, until Uncle Vernon stopped dead facing the platforms with a nasty grin on his face. Well, there you are, boy. Platform 9, platform 10. Your platform should be somewhere in the middle, but they don't seem to have built it yet, do they? He was quite right, of course. We are at the top of page 91, 6th graders. He was quite right, of course. There was a big plastic number 9 over one platform and a big plastic number 10 over the one next to it. And in the middle, nothing at all. Have a good time, said Uncle Vernon with an even nastier smile. He left without another word. Harry turned and saw the Dursleys drive away. All 3 of them were laughing. Harry's mouth went rather dry. What on earth was he going to do? He was starting to attract a lot of funny looks because of Hedwig. He'd have to ask someone. He stopped a passing guard, but didn't dare mention platform 9 3/4. The guard had never heard of Hogwarts, and when Harry couldn't even tell him what part of the country it was in, he started to get annoyed, and as though Harry was being stupid on purpose. Getting desperate, Harry asked for the train that left at 11 o'clock, but the guard said there wasn't one. In the end, the guard strode away, muttering about time wasters. Harry was now trying hard not to panic. According to the large clock over the arrivals board, he had 10 minutes left to get on the train to Hogwarts, and he had no idea how to do it. He was stranded in the middle of a station with a trunk he could hardly lift, a pocket full of wizard money, and a large owl. I just had an idea. Sorry. Bottom of page 91. Hagrid, right there. Hagrid must have forgotten to tell him something you had to do, like tapping the 3rd brick on the left to get to Diagon Alley. He wondered if he should get out his wand and start tapping the ticket inspector stand between platforms 9 and 10. Do you guys understand that? That in between 9 and 10, if you look like on a ruler, I don't have one, but you know what a ruler looks like. If you look between 9 and 10, there's 9 and 1/4, there's 9 and a half, there's 9 and 3/4, and then there's 10. So that's how we're looking at this. Make sense? Good. Who the heck is out there? Anyways, at that moment, a group of people passed just behind him, and he caught a few words of what they were saying. Packed with muggles, of course. Harry swung around. Top of page 92. The speaker was a plump woman who was talking to 4 boys, all with flaming red hair. Each of them was pushing a trunk like Harry's in front of him, and they had an owl. Heart hammering, Harry pushed his cart after them. They stopped, and so did he, just near enough to hear what they were saying. "Now, what's the platform number?" said the boy's mother. 9 3/4, piped a small girl, also red-headed, who was holding her hand. "Mum, can't I go?" "You're not old enough, Ginny. Now be quiet. All right, Percy, you go first." What looked like the oldest boy marched toward platforms 9 and 10. Harry watched, careful not to blink in case he missed it. But just as the boy reached the dividing barrier between the two platforms, a large crowd of tourists came swimming in front of him, and by the time the last backpack had cleared away, the boy had vanished. "Oh, Fred, you next," the plump woman said. "I'm not Fred, I'm George," said the boy. "Honestly, woman, you call yourself our mother. Can't you tell I'm George?" "Sorry, George, dear." "Only joking. I am Fred," said the boy, and off he went. His twin called after him to hurry up, and he must have done so because a second later he had gone, but how had he done it? Now, the third brother was walking briskly toward the barrier. He was almost there, and then quite suddenly, he wasn't anywhere. There was nothing else for it. Top of page 93. "Excuse me," Harry said to the plump woman. "Hello, dear," she said. "First time at Hogwarts. Ron's new too." She pointed at the last and youngest of her sons. He was tall, thin, and gangling, with freckles, big hands and feet, and a long nose. "Yes," said Harry. The thing is, I don't know how to get on the platform," she said kindly, and Harry nodded. "Not to worry," she said. "All you have to do is walk straight at the barrier between platforms 9 and 10. Don't stop and don't be scared. You'll crash into it. That's very important. Best do it at a bit of a run if you're nervous. Go on. Go now, before Ron." Okay," said Harry. He pushed his trolley around and stared at the barrier. It looked very solid. He started to walk toward it. People jostled him on their way to platforms 9 and 10. He walked more quickly. He was going to smash right into that barrier, and then he'd be in trouble. Leaning forward on his cart, he broke into a heavy run. The barrier was coming nearer and nearer. He wouldn't be able to stop. The cart was out of control. He was a foot away. He closed his eyes, ready for the crash. It didn't come. He kept on running. He opened his eyes. A scarlet steam engine was waiting next to a platform packed with people. A sign overhead said, "Hogwarts Express, 11 o'clock. Harry looked behind him and saw a wrought iron archway, top of page 94, where the barrier had been, with the words "Platform 9 3/4" on it. He had done it. Smoke from the engine drifted over the heads of the chattering crowd, while cats of every color wound here and there between their legs. Owls hooted to one another in a disgruntled sort of way over the babble and the scraping of heavy trunks. The first few carriages were already packed with students, some hanging out of the window to talk to their families, some fighting over seats. Harry pushed his cart off down the platform in search of an empty seat. He passed a round-faced boy who was saying, "Gran, I've lost my toad again." "Oh, Neville," he heard the old woman sigh. A boy with dreadlocks was surrounded by a small crowd. His name was Jaden. "Give us a look, Lee. Go on." "Just kidding. Just kidding." Okay. His name was Lee, actually. Where was I at? Oh, a boy with dreadlocks was surrounded by a small crowd. "Give us a look, Lee. Go on." The boy lifted the lid of a box in his arms, and the people around him shrieked and yelled as something inside poked out a long, hairy leg. Harry pressed on through the crowd until he found an empty compartment near the end of the train. He put Hedwig inside first and then started to shove and heave his trunk toward the train door. He tried to lift it up the steps but could hardly raise one end, and twice he dropped it painfully on his foot. "Want a hand?" It was one of the red-haired twins he'd followed through the barrier. "Yes, please," Harry panted. "Oi, Fred! Come here and help!" With the twins' help, Harry's trunk was at last tucked away in a corner of the compartment. Top of page 95. "Thanks," said Harry, pushing his sweaty hair out of his eyes. "What's that?" said one of the twins suddenly, pointing at Harry's lightning scar. "Blimey," said the other twin. "Are you?" "He is," said the first twin. "Aren't you?" he added to Harry. "What?" said Harry. "Harry Potter," chorused the twins. Chorus means they both said it at the same time. "Oh, him," said Harry. Yes I am." The two boys gawked at him, and Harry felt himself turning red. Then, to his relief, a voice came floating through the train's open door. "Fred! George! Are you there?" "Coming, Mum." With a last look at Harry, the twins hopped off the train. Harry sat down next to the window where, half hidden, he could watch the red-haired family on the platform and hear what they were saying. Their mother had just taken out her handkerchief. "Ron, you've got something on your nose." The youngest boy tried to jerk out of the way, but she grabbed him and began rubbing the end of his nose. "Mom! Ugh!" He wriggled free. "Ah, has Ickle Ronnie got something on his nose?" said one of the twins. "Shut up," said Ron. "Where's Percy?" said their mother. "He's coming now." The oldest boy came striding into sight. He had already changed into his billowing black Hogwarts robes. Top of page 96. And Harry noticed a shiny red and gold badge on his chest with the letter P on it. "Can't stay long, Mother," he said. "I'm up front. The prefects have got 2 compartments to themselves." "Oh, are you a prefect, Percy?" said one of the twins with an air of surprise. "You should have said something. We had no idea." "Hang on. I think I remember him saying something about it," said the other twin. "Once or twice. A minute. All summer." "Oh, shut up," said Percy, the prefect. "How come Percy gets new robes anyway?" said one of the twins. "Because he's a prefect," said their mother fondly. "All right, dear. Well, have a good term. Send me an owl when you get there." She kissed Percy on the cheek and he left. Then she turned to the twins. "Now you two, this year you behave yourselves. If I get one more owl telling me you've blown up a toilet or..." "Blown up a toilet? We've never blown up a toilet." "Great idea, though. Thanks, Mum." "It's not funny. And look after Ron." "Don't worry, Ickle Ronnykins is safe with us." "Shut up," said Ron again. He was almost as tall as the twins already, and his nose was still pink where his mother had rubbed it. "Hey, Mum, guess what? Guess who we just met on the train?" Harry leaned back quickly so they couldn't see him looking. "You know that black-haired boy who was near us in the station? Know who he is?" "Who?" "Harry Potter." Mom heard the little girl's voice. "Oh, Mom, can I go on the train and see him, Mom? Oh, please." "You've already seen him, Jenny, and the poor boy isn't something you goggle at in the zoo. Is he really, Fred? How do you know?" "Asked him. Saw his scar. It's really there like lightning." Poor dear, no wonder he was alone. I wondered. He was ever so polite when he asked to get onto the platform. Never mind that. Do you think he remembers what you-know-who looks like? Their mother suddenly became very stern. I forbid you to ask him, Fred. No, don't you dare. As though he needs reminding of that on his first day of school. All right, keep your hair on. A whistle sounded. Hurry up, their mother said, and the three boys clambered onto the train. They leaned out of the window for her to kiss them goodbye, and their younger sister began to cry. Don't, Ginny, we'll send you loads of owls. When they say I'll send you an owl, that means I'll send you letters. We'll send you a Hogwarts toilet seat. George! Only joking, Mum. The train began to move. Harry saw the boy's mother waving, top of page 98, and their sister half laughing, half crying, running to keep up with the train until it gathered too much speed. Then she fell back and waved. Harry watched the girl and her mother disappear as the train rounded the corner. Houses flashed past the window. Harry felt a great leap of excitement. He didn't know what he was going to, but it had to be better than what he was leaving behind. I like that little quote. The door of the compartment slid open and the youngest redhead boy came in. Anyone sitting there? He asked, pointing at the seat opposite of Harry. Everywhere else is full. Harry shook his head and the boy sat down. He glanced at Harry, then looked quickly out of the window, pretending he hadn't looked. Harry saw he still had a black mark on his nose. Hey, Ron. The twins were back. Listen, we're going down the middle of the train. Lee Jordan's got a giant tarantula down there. Right, mumbled Ron. Harry, said the other twin, did we introduce ourselves? Fred and George Weasley. This is Ron, our brother. See you later, then. Bye, said Harry and Ron. The twins slid the compartment door shut behind them. Are you really Harry Potter? Ron blurted out. Harry nodded. Oh, well, I thought it might be one of Fred and George's jokes, said Ron. And have you really got, top of page 99. He pointed at Harry's forehead. Harry pulled back his bangs to show the lightning scar. Ron stared. So that's where you-know-who? Yes, said Harry, but I can't remember it. Nothing? Said Ron eagerly. Well, I remember a lot of green light, but nothing else. Wow, said Ron. He sat and stared at Harry for a few moments. Then, as though he had suddenly realized what he was doing, he looked quickly out of the window again. Are all of your family wizards? Asked Harry, who found Ron just as interesting as Ron found him. Yes, I think so, said Ron. I think Mum's got a second cousin who's an accountant, but we never talk about him. So you must know loads of magic already. The Weasleys were clearly one of those old wizarding families the Pale Boy and Diagon Alley had talked about. I heard you went to live with Muggles, said Ron. What are they like? Horrible. Well, not all of them. My aunt and uncle and cousin are, though. Wish I'd had 3 wizard brothers. 5, said Ron. For some reason, he was looking gloomy. I'm the 6th in our family to go to Hogwarts. You could say I've got a lot to live up to. Bill and Charlie have already left. Bill was head boy, and Charlie was captain of Quidditch. Now Percy's a prefect. Fred and George mess around a lot, but they still get really good marks, and everyone thinks they're really funny. Everyone expects me to do as well as the others, but if I do, it's no big deal because they did it first. You never get anything new, either with 5 brothers. Top of page 100. I've got Bill's old robes, Charlie's old wand, and Percy's old rat. Ron reached inside his jacket and pulled out a fat gray rat which was asleep. Yuck.
His name's Scabbers, and he's useless. He hardly ever wakes up. Percy got an owl from my dad for being made prefect, but they couldn't have... I mean, I got Scabbers instead.
Ron's ears went pink. He seemed to think he'd said too much because he went back to staring out of the window. Harry didn't think there was anything wrong with not being able to afford an owl. After all, he'd never had any money in his life until a month ago, and he'd told Ron so, all about having to wear Dudley's old clothes and never getting proper birthday presents. This seemed to cheer Ron up. And until Hagrid told me, I didn't know anything about being a wizard or about my parents or Voldemort. Ron gasped.
What?
Said Harry.
You said you know whose name?
Said Ron, sounding both shocked and impressed.
I thought you, of all people...
I'm not trying to be brave or anything, saying the name, said Harry. I just never knew you shouldn't. See what I mean? I've got loads to learn. I bet, he added, voicing for the first time something that had been worrying him a lot lately. I bet I'm the worst in the class.
You won't be. There's loads of people who come from Muggle families, and they learn quick enough.
While they had been talking, the train had carried them out of London. Now they were speeding past fields full of cows and sheep. They were quiet for a time, watching the fields and lanes flick past. Around 12:30, there was a great clattering inside the corridor, and a smiling, dimpled woman slid back their door and said,
Anything off the cart, dears?
Harry, who hadn't had any breakfast, leapt to his feet, but Ron's ears went pink again, and he muttered that he'd brought sandwiches. Harry went out to the corridor. He had never had any money for candy with the Dursleys, and now that he had pockets rattling with gold and silver, he was ready to buy as many Mars bars as he could carry. But the woman didn't have Mars bars. What she did have were Bertie Bott's every flavor beans, Drubal's best blowing gum, chocolate frogs, pumpkin pasties, cauldron cakes, licorice wands, and a number of other strange things Harry had never seen in his life. Not wanting to miss anything, he got some of everything and paid the woman 11 silver sickles and 7 bronze newts. Ron stared as Harry brought it all back to the compartment and tipped it onto an empty seat.
Hungry, are you?
Starving, said Harry, taking a large bite out of a pumpkin pasty. Ron had taken out a lumpy package and unwrapped it. There were 4 sandwiches inside. He pulled one of them apart and said,
She always forgets I don't like corned beef.
Swap you for one of these, said Harry, holding up a pasty.
Go on.
You don't want this. It's all dry, said Ron.
She hasn't got much time, he added quickly. You know, with 5 of us.
Top of page 102.
Go on, have a pasty, said Harry, who had never had anything to share before.
Or indeed anyone to share it with. Hold on. Hedwig is getting upset, and I think I know why. Okay, calm down. It's okay. There we go. Okay. Shh, 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 shh. Okay. She's getting just a little frustrated, so I was like, why is she jiggling around? All right. We were on page 102. What? Is it on Do Not Disturb? Oh no, I missed my call. Oh no. Sorry. All right, this is 30 minutes anyway. We're going to stop on page 102. Darn. Okay, bye. Sorry.